Hello, I'm Dan Rogers, and today we are here with council candidate for Place 3, Tom Scherlen. Tom,
Thank
welcome.
you, Dan. I appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you again. I know we did this probably a month or so back, and it's always a pleasure to come and share ideas, share thoughts, and you pretty well have a good control or hands-on what's going on in Amarillo and Randall and Potter County. So thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Well, you've managed to get yourself into a runoff.
Yes, sir. I wasn't planning on that, but that's what happened.
So people get to come out and vote again. And runoffs are tough, right?
They really are.
Because a lot of people don't realize they're going on.
Correct.
So we have to figure out a way to inform the voters that they have an opportunity to make a choice.
They can come out and vote for me again. I would appreciate all those people to come out and vote. That is going to be the biggest thing in this runoff election.
Yeah.
Is voter turnout. Or if you want to say it the other way, voter apathy. Mm-hmm. We have got to get the voters out to vote, to see the true will of the people. And a lot of time people just assume, I mean, it was like after we had the general election here the 1st of May, a lot of people, the next day I got, congratulations, you won. Well, I ended up in first place, yes, but I did not win the seat. But in reality, that's where we've got to get the people back out, vote again, come out and vote Tom Scherlen. But if you didn't vote the first time, you can still vote this time. So come out, express your feelings, express your thoughts, and put a council member in there that's already working for you, have been working for you, and look forward to working for you the next 2 more years.
Why do you think there's such low turnout?
That's a question I've asked around for a lot of people, and I don't know. It's really hard to answer that question because I thought for this election we had quite a bit of things going on, quite a bit of people that were running, and I thought we'd have a very good turnout because there were quite a few issues that were brought forth that actually need to be handled. But the voters, I don't know what they didn't see in this election that didn't bring them out. Everybody needs to realize government starts in your city, then the county, the state, and then the federal government. So you can affect your government more today by going out and early voting than you can any other time because you're affecting life in your city, in your hometown, in your neighborhood. And that's what I want people to understand. You're affecting you.
Yeah.
And it's like myself, I really don't have an agenda. I work for the people. People basically dictate to me what they want. Is on any issue that comes up, I reach out to people. Mm-hmm. I want to know, what do you think? How do you think about it? What do you see the good? Do you see the good or do you see the bad? Please inform me of your thoughts. Because at the end of the day, I represent you and I represent a vote that you showed confidence in me. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I got to realize that there's consequences to every vote I take. There's going to be people that like it, and there's going to be people that don't like it. And I've always said the people who liked me this week probably will not like me next week because that is how politics is.
Well, I think a good representative doesn't worry about whether or not people like them.
Correct.
Their job is to represent the interest of all the voters, correct, the best that he can do. And that's going to make some people upset.
Correct.
But what I think has happened over time, I believe it happened with the electronic voting. That's why I'm so against it, because that basically neutered the parties. Because the party structure is codified into our state law. You have 2 parties, and they're responsible for running the primary elections.
Yes, sir.
To choose the party's nominees to run against each other in a race in the general election in the fall.
Correct.
Right? Well, when they went electronic, that made the precinct chairs, who were typically the judges, Democrat, Republican, and all of a sudden they weren't as relevant, right? And about that same time, they passed McCain-Feingold campaign finance, and so it became less about the party and more about the money.
Correct.
And then the money comes in, and it dumps in on a candidate that the big money people want, right? I call them the profiteers.
Okay.
And I figured this out because while the city council election's going on, I'm in Midland defeating a bond issue. And we've defeated that bond issue. But I looked around, and it just occurred to me, I see it clear as day what's going on. You see it in Amarillo. You see it in every community. I call them the profiteers.
Correct.
There's people that are pushed by certain interests to be on these boards, city council, school board, every board, appraisal district, you name it. And it's to protect the interests of the people that are making money off of the taxpayers.
Correct.
And that's wrong.
Correct. I agree 100%.
Well, we were up against all the powers that be in Midland, and big money. They had hundreds of thousands of dollars. I went down and did my thing, and we won. So I'm very, and we also won Odessa. I didn't do much there. Because I knew that one was going to fail. And out of 362 bond issues that day, May 3rd, only 2 failed. So, but I learned some stuff, and I came up with the term profiteers. And I think if we start using that, and you'll see them every way you look, and they're there to push the interest of their friends who are making money off the taxpayer. And to me, that's the reason we need to get rid of electronic voting and get money out of politics. Because if you'll get back to hand-marked, self-authenticated, tangible ballots that can be verified, people will have confidence in their elected officials because they know they won. And the parties become relevant again.
Correct.
And big money will no longer be needed. The party should get their people elected, not big money. Now, in your case, you're running in a nonpartisan, what we call uniform elections.
Correct.
Municipal elections.
Correct.
Is what we call them colloquially, but they're actually uniform. And that's in your odd years. But I think, that if we could just get back to the basic system that worked for hundreds of years, that would in itself solve a lot of problems. Then you'll have people that, like you, who really are genuinely concerned about the interests of the voter.
Correct.
The way it is now, the big money can come in and flood a campaign and effectively buy the race.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And then that profiteer's there, and he's not there to represent the voter. He's there to represent who got him elected.
Correct.
So that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, to be truthful, when I run, I run or ran. First ran 4 years ago, got defeated in my first time running, and I gained 44% of the vote. I enjoyed it, good time. Next time I ran 2 years later, I was elected, enjoyed every minute of it. And the thing I enjoy is working for the people. Mm-hmm. I could care less about this or that. What I want to listen to is the people. What are your problems? What are your needs? What does the city need to do to help you? Mm-hmm. And that's where we're at, is listening to the citizens. And what you're talking about, that brings the citizens to the forefront, is exactly what it does.
Yeah. What I'm thinking is if we could get the citizens to understand the power of their vote,
correct,
how important they are as voters to change the direction or to keep the
direction,
same direction city's going, I think more people would participate.
I think that people would participate, but they've got to feel like their vote means something. They got to feel comfortable knowing that it does mean something. And that was one thing that we've done as a council the last 2 years. We've taken down the ropes. We allow people to come and talk about anything they want to talk about at a council meeting. Before, you could only talk about items that were on the agenda.
Yep.
Now we may hear from A to Z during public comment. Public comment gets long sometimes. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that come from public comment that we carry back for discussion items in the next council meeting or the meeting after. Mm-hmm. We've got to hear the people. Mm-hmm. And unless you make it available to the people, that's why when I ran, I put my cell phone number out there. Anybody can call me 24/7. I answer the phone. I'm there. I mean, it's just like over Memorial Day. I get a call. There's a sewer problem in the north side of Amarillo. Within 15 minutes, I had a crew dispatch going out checking on this sewer problem we had. That's what serving your constituents means. You don't sit down there and say, well, I'll get with you tomorrow at 8 o'clock when they get everything rolling. When you have a busted sewer line or water line, it needs attention now.
Yep.
And you've got to have a person that is willing to work 24/7 because that's what it takes to do the job. Mm-hmm. I'm luckily, I retired 6 years ago. And I thought I was going to spend this fabulous retirement. I was going to go to the mountains and fish and hunt and then come back to Amarillo when it got cold and all that. Well, that worked for about 3 months, and then I decided, well, I need to do something. Mm-hmm. And got into politics and have really actually enjoyed every minute of it. Now, is everything great, good? No.
Well, you got conflict,
that's
right? But that's part of life.
That's the
and
way it
sometimes
goes.
You need conflict to get a problem solved.
Well, I have found out through these last 2 years why the good Lord gave me 2 ears and 1 tongue. I need to learn to listen twice as much as I need to talk. Yeah. And that has been a very good learning experience. You know, you go in and you got all these bright ideas. I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to get that done, and I'm going to do this. It doesn't work that way. What you do, you go in and you find out, first of all, you got to learn the job. How do I get something done? How do I get it brought before the council? How can we get it passed? There's a lot of things to learn.
And a lot of it's going to be who not to deal with.
Correct. And that's the biggest part about it is learning the process. Yeah. And I think it's great that you can go out, and when people want to visit with you, people want to see you. It was just like yesterday. I had a lady call me, and it was out in Pleasant Valley. I go out in Pleasant Valley yesterday afternoon. I spend a couple of hours walking alleys, taking pictures, bringing back information to the city to show what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But the citizen was taken care of. Mm-hmm. Their councilman was there. The councilman answered that phone. The councilman set an appointment to meet those people. That is the duty of an elected official. Yeah. And if you don't want to do that stuff, don't run. If you don't want to put the time in, don't run. The thing is, you're working for the people who voted for you. And the way I look at it, that person is very important. They come right, it's like a good cream, come right to the top. Mm-hmm. So these are the things that I think we need to instill in elected officials is you're elected to serve. You're not elected to rule. You're elected to serve. That means I'm elected to work harder than you are because I'm serving you. And, you know, a lot of people when they run, they say they run for a reason, well, they want the prestige or they want everybody to know who they are. I mean, I'm not one of these kind of guys. If you ever notice when it comes to the end of a council meeting, I try to get away from the press as much as I can because you get yourself in trouble when they ask those split-second questions.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I would rather go meet with people in the audience. So that's what's important.
Well, the problem with the press, you can have an hour-long interview with them like we are. Like, we don't edit anything. We just put it out there.
Correct.
But press, they're liable to take 3 seconds of what you said or 5 seconds out of context.
Correct.
And you have there's no background or anything. And that's the problem with being interviewed by the press. And you have no idea how they're going to they're going to do everything they can to make you look as bad as they can.
Well, if y'all been paying attention to this election, my opponent ran quite a few commercials, and it caught me waving my finger at an individual. And it made it look like, and they catch me in a deal, and I'm saying, well, I don't work for you, you work for me. Well, they sort of twisted that a little bit, made it look like I was talking to citizens like that, which is totally not right. Yeah. Who I was talking to was the chairman of the AEDC board at the time, and why I was wagging my finger is I'd been asking questions about the AEDC spending of money for the range.
Yeah.
And I could not get an answer. I asked umpteen questions. That board is supposed to report back to the city council. Mm-hmm. Well, by that time I was getting flustered. I put my finger out there, and that's why I said, I don't work for you, you work for me. You're supposed to be answering these questions so that the taxpayers of Amarillo know what happened. Right. Yeah. And to this day, I still don't have answers to those questions. But, you know, that's where you're looking at.
But yet the people that you were pointing the finger at are the one that are effectively running the commercials saying the opposite.
You got that.
Yeah.
They're the ones that twisted and turned the commercial to suit their 10-second.
I think a lot of people about that range and EDC, when I hear people say, they seem upset that they don't think they're ever going to be held accountable.
That's the biggest thing. Now, I will say it's still in the process. We haven't backed off our side at all. We are still doing everything we can to pursue. I mean, I asked the day I was taken to the hospital in the ambulance, was at a city council meeting, and I was there at that city council meeting feeling awful. I was there at that city council meeting for one reason only, and it was to ask one question. And I asked it at the end of 2.5 hours sitting there. I want our money back. That's taxpayer money. And that's where I really get rubbed raw, is that's not AEDC money. That's not the city of Amarillo's money. It's the taxpayers. And we have got to be upfront with every taxpayer. In fact, we talked about this Tuesday. We're going to be putting on, you'll probably hear this in another council or two meeting. It looks like we're going to be putting our complete check register up that you can go in anytime and see my check register. We're going to put up our ledger on there. I want Dan Rogers to see where his tax money's going. I want him to see there was a check written to XYZ for this much money, and if Dan wants to know, well, what was that for, he can call councilman, or he can call City Hall and get answers to that. That's the only way we make government better, is by making it transparent. I even made a comment at last Tuesday meeting. Probably wasn't a popular comment, but I made it. I mean, we were talking about, well, the state says you can do this. Yeah. Well, my problem is I don't know if I trust the state. I know what I'm doing here in Amarillo. Well, it's because the state says it's okay. Is it okay? I question that.
Well, the problem is the profiteers are the lobbyists that are getting these laws passed at the state.
Correct.
Right? So they can cover things up.
Correct.
That brings That's another thing I learned while I'm in Midland. I'm talking to this guy, and he says, "Do you know why cities want EDCs?" I'm like, well, they always say because other cities have them. He said, "Here's why they really want them. Read section 413.10 of the Transportation Code.
Okay.
If a city has an EDC, effectively they don't have to take competitive bids."
Okay.
Now there's some nuances, but you also have to have a TIRZ zone, and so then you see all these things popping up, and I'm like, I get it. That's the profiteers.
Yeah.
A lot of people I talk to think, why do we need an EDC?
Correct.
I think they tend to morph into the opposite over time. So who's on the boards? They're local business people.
Correct.
Well, they're trying to keep business out. They don't want competition.
Okay.
Right?
Correct.
I think that's what happens.
Correct.
And it really turns into the opposite of what they're for. To me, a city is infrastructure, roads, sewer, water, public safety, fire, police, and good schools.
Correct.
If a city has those things and low taxes,
they will come.
They will come in droves.
Correct.
We grew to almost 200,000 population before we had an EDC.
Correct.
Since we've had an EDC, has Amarillo grown?
Not
No.
really. I mean, if you look at return ROI,
yeah, it's not there.
It's not there. I mean, and that's what we got to look at the end of the day.
So to me, of course, somebody said I was a radical. I said, yeah, I'm a radical constitution and a government minimalist. You starve. The only way you can make government smaller is by starving it. The more you feed it, the fatter it's going to get.
Correct. And that's why Doge is one of the greatest things I see happening today.
But the profiteers at the federal level are,
correct.
Even though they found all the fraud, they don't really want it fixed.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back, I was watching a news program, I think this morning, Dan, to be truthful, and they were talking about Elon Musk is fixing to step down and leave his position with the administration. But what was really funny, even the Republican and Democrats both say it's bad, but none of them want to get rid of it.
They're not going to fix it.
That's where we're at, and the only way to fix it is by putting in place somebody like Elon Musk, who will go in and shut it down. It's the only way to work.
You really need the citizens,
correct,
to put the pressure on their elected officials and force them to do it. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that's going to work, because they're not going to do it unless the people put the pressure on them. And even then, they're going to try to get out of it.
Correct.
That's why I want hand-marked ballots, because then we can replace those people if they don't do what the people want.
Correct.
Then it's up to the people.
Yep.
It's not up to me. It's not up to big money people. It's not up to the parties. It should be up to the people.
Correct.
But I think that we've got to set up a system to where we can get the people involved and get the money, because the big money people don't want it fixed. That's how they're making their money.
Correct. I agree.
They're not making it honestly.
No.
Like you and I do.
Correct.
But so the ADC, it's to bring in more big business, right? But if you didn't have that 50-cent sales tax and you had good infrastructure and good schools and low taxes and safe community and small businesses, if they each just added one employee, you would be way more
correct
economic activity than bringing in some business that brings in 5,000 jobs.
Correct.
Do we know how many small businesses are in Amarillo?
I really don't have an idea on how many.
I don't know, but there's thousands.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
Oh,
if
yeah.
you had thousands of small businesses all just add an average of one employee, that is transformative.
Correct.
But nobody looks at the people that are here. They want to bring outside people in and bribe them to come.
I mean, if you really want to get down to it, I kicked this idea around during this discussion between AEDC and the range and all of this. I said, well, if we took the money, the hot tax is where they're getting their money, and if we took that and reinvested that in our citizens, I would create as much economic development from the citizens that already live here than I would by bringing in a company. I mean, if you look at that and put that same investment that we're doing for XYZ company and give it back to the taxpayers, people would be out buying houses, cars,
refrigerators.
I mean, you look at everything.
They'd remodel their house.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking millions of dollars that we've collected through the years. And at the end of the day, I think I could help economic development by getting it in the hands of the people who spend the money.
Yep.
And that's where we need to lean.
Well, to me, the opposite happens. So when you take it out of away from the people, and it's taking,
correct,
it's not. You don't have a choice, right?
Correct.
Which means they're taking it and giving it to a government entity who's picking winners and losers.
Correct.
That harms everybody.
You're
not treating everybody the same. When the AEDC offers whoever company money to come to town, that is, to me, an egregious act. Because what about all the businesses in your town that created it from nothing? They've got 10 employees or 50 employees, and they didn't get a break from
Nope.
And they're paying all that.
They've been paying taxes for years.
To bring in a competitor.
And that's something that really bothers me, is you're picking this guy over this guy. But this guy's been doing it for 75 years already. Mm-hmm. This guy's wanting to come in, and this guy developed a market. This guy's wanting to come in and take part of his market. Mm-hmm. And we're going to pay him to do it.
Yeah.
Is that the right thing? Not necessarily.
I just think it actually has a negative effect, and people can't see it.
Yeah.
But I think you need to get rid of them all across the state. I think they should be banned. Cities need to compete on quality of life, good infrastructure, streets, all the stuff that a city should provide, and that's how you compete.
Correct. I agree. I mean, what you're selling every day, Dan, you're selling yourself, you're selling your company, you're selling an idea. Every day I'm doing the same thing. And it all goes back to communication between, let's say, Tom and Dan here. We've got to learn to talk to each other, not around each other or by each other. And I think that's where we lack a lot, is we're not willing to sit down with the people I don't agree with and have a good, honest discussion without getting mad.
Well, I think the problem is, part of it may be, I'm going to bring it all back down to electronic voting.
Yeah,
is the real problem. But then all the digital stuff that people have, social media and all that. So people aren't used to talking to one another anymore, right? Correct. In person. To me, social media, I don't participate in it at all. I think it's designed to divide. That's certainly the effect. And the problem is people get on social media and express their opinion and get it off their chest, and it resolves nothing.
Correct.
Right? And then they don't show up and vote because they've got it off their chest. So they're not at your city council meeting. They're not at the commissioners meeting of the school board. They're on their social media, on their screens, and we need to get people off their screens and into the council chambers and into the commissioners' court and into the school boards.
I agree. I mean,
and none of us have to agree on anything.
Yeah.
But we just need to listen. And when different people with different ideas, then we can come to a good conclusion together, right?
And that's what it takes, is getting together and sitting in a council room, hearing the issues. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times people go exactly what you said, Dan. People will read something on social media. Well, 40% of it's accurate, 60% is what somebody thinks. In reality, the only way you're ever going to get the truth is to sit down there and hear it come from the horse's mouth itself. Mm-hmm. So, when you don't go to a city council meeting or a school board meeting, and then you're reading on Facebook the next day that
somebody else's
opinion is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, you're accountable for you. You got to account, did I know the issues of that? Do I really understand what's going on? I mean, like right now, our wastewater plant's a big issue, but do I understand the issue? Mm-hmm. Or do I understand anything about it? Or,
yeah, I mean, a lot of them are acting like it's just popped up, but y'all are the ones that brought it to the attention. Correct. Because you found the problem and you started working on it, and then everybody's accusing you of not fixing it.
And it goes back to the same way with our roads. I mean, we came in with a 10-year plan to fix the roads in Amarillo, and we were going to collect basically borrowing about $12 to $14 million a year with a 10-year project to work on all the roads. Well, we go in year one, we put this plan together. Man, it's great. We're going to be able to do this, and our city staff, we can do X number of millions of dollars a year on roads. Everybody's in agreement. And then we get ready to do the project and find out that we haven't spent the money from a bond issue in 2016, which is totally outrageous. I mean, to me, if I'm going to go to...
But we're paying interest on that bond for the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the money's sitting in an account.
Sitting in an account. $34 million is what we found. So before I can do anything, I've lost 2 years of fixing roads because I haven't fixed them from the 2016 bond issue. And according to law, I've got to spend that money before I can spend any more money. So here I am, $34 million, and we found it basically by accident. But these are the things we're turning.
Was that like in a separate bank account?
Yes, it was in a bank account for that bond issue, and it just how it gets through the cracks, So that was one of the things.
Whatever bank that the money was sitting in probably didn't really want you to find it.
Well, they just soon not. I mean, to be perfectly truthful, that's one of the things I really want to look at is how much money do we have and how many open projects are there out there?
Yeah.
How many projects have never been closed out that we found out I couldn't get the easement and this project should die, but we never closed it out. So I've got money sitting here to do project XYZ, but we found out 10 years ago I can't get the easement to complete project XYZ. So we need to take that money back to the storehouse I can use elsewhere. It's very important that we are the fiduciary responsibility. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of time you'll see me questioning why. I mean, I remember when I first got elected, I made a big deal over $89,000 food trailer that we were wanting to buy for the pavilion. I mean, to me, $89,000 is a lot of money. Yeah. And I want to know, do we really need this food trailer?
Rent one.
Yeah. Or call food trucks. Or
call a vendor and charge them 10%.
I mean, there's so many ways to do this without spending money.
That's right.
And that's why, from a conservative viewpoint, people say, well, that's just $89,000 and $500 million budget is nothing. To me, it's a lot. And I start by saving a penny here and a penny there. And before long, I've got millions of dollars saved. It's like last year during budget process, we saved $30 million. And we're still able to give my police and fire a huge raise. And now I've stabilized my police department. I've stabilized my fire department. I've got retention. People aren't coming and leaving immediately. we have leveled that playing field. And we need to do that throughout all city employees. We need to go in and look, am I paying every person what they deserve? But, you know, I found this out in business years ago, and you probably experienced this, Dan. There's people you can go out and hire for, let's say, $15 an hour. But if I'd go out and spend another $10 and pay somebody $25 an hour, sometime I can get by with one employee where I had to hire 2 or 3 before. Yep. Sometime you can actually save money by increasing a pay scale.
Yeah, you want the fewest well-paid employees you can have.
Correct.
That's right. You don't want a lot of people who aren't competent.
You don't want people who come.
No matter how much you pay them.
Yeah.
They're not worth it.
You know, they come to collect a check.
Yeah.
I want somebody coming to lead a charge.
Right.
You know, and if you pay people good money, you've got somebody that's going to come in at a starting salary, and eventually 20 years down the road, they're going to be running the thing. Or I hope they would be. I hope they got that ambition to one day says, hey, I want to be assistant city manager. I want to be head of the or
the city manager.
Correct. Yeah. And this is what we got to get
to. Me, we should be able to produce city managers from within.
Correct.
We shouldn't have to go outside our community.
I think when we go outside looking, a lot of time you're not really using, because I've got a guy that's been here 20 years. Why would I want to use his knowledge? He knows how the system works, doesn't he?
Unless he's part of the profiteers. Right?
That's right. And then if he's part of the profiteer, you need to cut your ties and go on down the road anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are the things we got to look at, is how do we make change and let people see it's not change to be just change, but it's change for the better.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say, well, guy, you're paying this guy too much money. Have you walked in his shoes? Do you know what he's doing every day? I know I call my city manager sometime 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock. That's why he gets those big bucks, because he's having to deal with a chlorine spill, or we're having to send hazmat somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
chlorine, that is some bad stuff, man. You don't want a chlorine spill.
That's right. And we've had a couple of spills at one of our cheese factories, you know, and these are the things we need to work on, you know. So I think you and I think the same way. We're looking at this from a different viewpoint than most people look at government. But I think that we need to get back to the government 250 years ago.
Well, I think you're right.
Created for the people and by the people.
I think the one thing I might disagree with you on is I think most people do want that, right?
Okay.
But they don't know how to achieve it.
Correct.
And my point is they can achieve it. They just have to show up.
Correct.
That's it.
And that's that.
If you had 4 or 5 citizens that don't typically go to the city council meetings, just start going and listen.
Correct.
You'll know within 2 or 3 meetings, you'll have more knowledge than most of the people that work at the city.
Correct.
And if you'll go to your county commissioner, same thing. School board, you don't have to know anything. I think a lot of people think, well, I wouldn't know what to say. Well, you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Listen, absorb, and then talk to your neighbors. Try to get them to go. And if we could just get a few people showing up at the city council that don't have a problem, that want to understand how the system works, we transform everything.
Correct. I mean, that's
because they have the ideas, they have the experience, and they're going to say, hey, Tom, y'all were talking about this, whatever, piece of equipment you're going to buy. Tom, that's the wrong equipment for that job.
Correct.
Here's why. You know, your city employees are off track here.
Correct.
And that's why it works.
And that's where it's like you say, if I can get 5 this week, 10 next week, and 10 more. And then we get the true picture of what's going on. I know since I've been elected, I've been holding basically a town hall every other week. and I put it out there, come and see me. And I think those are important. I put myself out there because I know when those people come, 90% of them aren't coming to tell me I'm doing a good job. Most people are coming to give me a complaint or a question or something like that. And that's what's important, is we hear those questions, because then I can take that question to the third floor of City Hall and say, how do we solve this problem? Right. And a lot of times people will come and they want to complain, which is fine, complain. But if you're complaining, try to help me figure a solution to this problem. Because I'll guarantee you, there's people out there that have solutions to every problem we have. It's just Tom hadn't thought about it. Mm-hmm. But Joe Blow over here knows exactly how to fix it. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I get a lot of calls from people, and they start with me for some reason. I guess because I put my phone number out there, and everybody can get a hold of me. So, and I just listen to them, and then sometimes I go out and look at it, and we come up with a solution. And then I say, now you call your city councilman. Don't go to the city staff. No. You call the city pick one, call them, offer them, show them the problem, offer the solution. Make it easy for them, and they will help you.
Correct. Right?
Because they don't have all the answers. But I think what I've noticed is that this isn't taught anywhere, I guess, but people don't know the process, right? They think that if they have a problem, they call the city staff. Correct. Or they go in and tell them about the problem. But they're not set up to solve it because they can't make any decisions.
Correct.
They do what they're told. And that's the role of the city councilman, correct, right? And people need to understand, if you have an issue, you start with your city councilman. He may have had this issue before, and then he will take it to the city manager and figure out the solution, maybe bring you in as the citizen and explain the problem if you don't have the solution. But try to have a solution, and they will implement and tell the city employees to go fix it.
Correct.
Right? That's how it should work, because you represent the voter. The city manager runs the city, and the employees do what they're told by the city manager.
You got it. That's exactly how it happened.
But nobody does that. They all go to the city and start chewing on a employee, correct, and they're like, but they're nice. They want to listen to them, and if they tell them, you need to call your city councilman, then they think they're being rude to them or something.
Yeah. There again, a lot of time, the person they're talking to on that phone isn't the person that's going to make a decision.
That's right. You got to talk to the people that can make the decision.
You got to talk to the people in charge.
That's right.
And the best way to do that is exactly what you said. Call your city councilman. Yeah. Let them, because I'll guarantee you, I'll get you to the top of the list quicker than you get yourself there. Yeah. And that's the thing people don't understand, is we can get it fixed, and we want to fix it, but we've got to understand the problem. A lot of time when I get a call, it's after somebody has called the city 5 or 6 times. Well, they haven't done anything. Well, by the time I get this person, they are really, really mad.
Yeah.
And I've got to go through that first before I can actually make a solution. Whereas if we'd started calling your councilman, you would have had this fixed by your first phone call, mm-hmm, and we wouldn't be having this discussion today.
Yeah, but y'all aren't aware of the problem.
No.
So if you're not aware of it, we have it. I'm sure every business has the same thing. We'll have a problem with some tenant or something. Well, they'll scream at the receptionist. Mm-hmm. But if I walk out there and pick up the phone, they're just as nice as they can be.
Oh, yeah. It makes all the difference in the world.
Because they know I can terminate their lease and throw them out.
That's right. That's right. You've got the answer.
Right.
So. Anyway.
But it's just people just need to understand that you start with Tom, and he'll help you resolve it. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't know the answer, y'all will work together to figure it out.
That's right.
Well, everybody I talk to seems to think that you've done a good job. Why do you think you've had an opponent?
Why? I'm going to be totally honest here. We started finding things at the city. Mm-hmm. And we uncovered, for instance, money with the AEDC and the range. And that got a buzzsaw going in certain groups because they don't want their sandbox played.
So that would be the profiteers I was talking about.
I think
in Midland.
You hit the nail on the head. The profiteers. So if you really want to look at what's happening in this election, there were a couple of individuals that were picked that they came after, and I happen to be one of those individuals because old Tom's out there. He's going to ask the questions, and I'm going to be like a bulldog. I want answers.
You're not going to cower and bow down.
I'm not going to cower
run and
down,
hide.
and I'm not going to give up. I'm going to get you an answer. And there are certain, as you want to use the word, profiteers in town.
Well, I think that word encapsulates it, and I think people can see it. I just think that's a good word.
I mean, to be perfectly truthful, I think I've done an excellent job. I've probably served the citizens and the constituents better than most people have. But then I crossed the line that people didn't like. But it wasn't because they didn't like what I was doing. I was getting in the way of what they wanted. And so then you become a target. Mm-hmm. And they come after you.
Yeah.
And they come after you hard. They come after you heavy. If you look at the money that's been spent in this election cycle, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
the money that's been spent.
It's stupid.
I mean, I would rather spend that same money taking care of people instead of trying to get one side elected over another side. And what we've got is a power struggle going on here in town. 2 years ago, we took out the old and replaced it with new. Okay? Well, the old doesn't like being replaced with new.
Right.
Because they lost their power, their prestige, and maybe a little money here and there. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I do know we have a council today that's working for the people of Amarillo. Mm-hmm. And the people that are running against me, I don't know if they want to run for the people of Amarillo. They're running for some reason, and they're spending an awful lot of money for some reason. And the only reason you spend that kind of money is you're expecting something in return. Now, old Tom here, Tom's Tom. I ain't got nothing. I told everybody when I ran 2 years ago, you can look at my bank account 2 years ago and look at it today, and it's gone down. Mine has not gone up any direction at all. It's done nothing but go down. Mm-hmm. And the reason why, I'm serving the people. I pay for my own gas. I take my own time. I go out and work for the people. And it makes me wonder when these people want to come in and grab hold, what's your real reason behind it? I mean, I'm giving you 2 years that you can go back and see what I've done. Go check it out. Oh, have I made mistakes? Yeah. We all make mistakes.
Yeah, and there's one issue.
Yeah. People
out there, and if you don't go along with them on one issue, they're mad and they're not going to vote, which I think is wrong. You have to vote, even though you disagree with somebody on a particular issue. That doesn't mean that you can't work with them and maybe convince that person that they need to come to your way of thinking. But you're not going to get that done if you kick them out and get somebody else in there that you definitely won't be able to convince.
I mean, I agree wholly.
So, Well, it's just so everybody knows, we invited your opponent today, and we didn't get any response. Okay. Right? So we were going to see if y'all wanted to have a debate, but your opponent won't respond to us.
Well, that's a thing. When somebody doesn't want to respond or doesn't want to talk or get out in front of the people, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. And just because you're opponents doesn't mean you can't get along and engage with one another. It's a race.
I shake the man's hand. I say hi every time I see him. You know, I'm not going to it's one thing I learned being on city council. We may have a vote one day. Well, it's just like Tuesday. We had a vote. It was a 3-2 vote. I was on the losing side. I was one of the two. But I was on the losing side. At the end of that vote, me and the other 4 guys, that's what we decided. I will be behind that issue because according to the way we do business, even though I lost, I'm not going to carry my feelings forward. I'm going to work to get this thing accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do.
Yeah, if it's 3-2, the 3-1, and that I mean, that's what I do in my committee, that whatever my executive committee chooses to do, I just run the meetings. Whatever they tell me to do, that's what I do.
Yep.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Here again, you may not agree with it, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's what the vote means.
That's what I say. My executive committee did this. I'm just a spokesman and run the meeting.
Correct.
That's my role.
Correct.
Unless it was a tie, then I get to break it. I've only had to do that once. Yep. But we've had a really good, we have a really good executive committee with really good people on it, and we have better discussions in that than they do at any of these other government meetings. It blows my mind.
Correct.
Of their capacity and how they think.
Well, I do know from personal experience because I worked with a lot of your precinct chairmen and stuff. They are fantastic. They're out looking out for the community. They're working for the people. They're trying to get good conservatives elected, and that's what we need.
That's their job.
That's it, And to carry anything further than that, you really don't need to. And a lot of times we can end up hurting our own selves by not agreeing, and that's where a lot of time with Republicans, and you've known this, we'll have 5 Republicans holding up a whole thing. And sometimes they're right, but sometimes they're wrong. Yeah. And we've got to learn. We can't look at the one issue.
Right.
We've got to look at the totality.
Yeah, I've had a few over the few years, precinct chairs, and they are so one-issue oriented, and they're so mad if things don't go their way. I'm like, you need to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to let somebody wants to come in and do the job and not get all balled up on one issue. You can't be that way.
Correct.
You can't take things personal. Not everybody's going to always agree with you. And you may be 100% right. And I agree. I may agree with you 100%. But if the other people don't, you've got to work to convince them over time that you're right, and you have to pull them over into your way of thinking. You can't push them.
Correct.
Same way with voters. You can't push voters. You can include them and invite them, and that's what I try to do to get them to be involved. But you can't go beat them with a whip.
Correct. Correct. I can't make you believe the way I believe.
No.
But I can tell you why I believe that way.
Right.
And I'm willing to listen to you, and let's debate the issue. And I'm going to say debate, I don't mean to argue.
Right.
I mean be respectful, sit down, talk, and listen, and get it done.
Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to let the voters know? But you have a website they can get more information on?
TomScherlen.com. You can go on there, and it says everything I believe in. It's got all my endorsements there. It's even got a place to donate if you want to donate. But the main thing is it tells you what I want to do. It tells you the things that are important to me. And that's what I want people to understand. There's nothing important to Tom. What's important to me is that Amarillo grows and we become a great place to live, and we have a quality of life that everybody wants to live in. And
I don't think that's unique. I think most people, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter which party you want to belong to, we all want the same thing.
Correct. But yet we'll fight over the littlest thing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with some of that sometimes, you know, but people just need to understand they need to work together, explain their positions, and let the chips fall where they may.
Correct. I agree with you 100%, Dan.
All right, Tom. Well, good luck out there on the campaign trail, and we will see you on, what is it, June the 7th?
June the 7th. Hopefully we'll be victorious.
That'll be election day.
That's election day.
And when is early voting? Do you know?
Okay, we got early voting through this Friday from 8 to 5. Then next Monday and Tuesday, 7 to 7. And then we'll have election day, Saturday the 7th.
So basically the same setup as it was last time.
Correct.
Yeah. And you've been endorsed by the Amarillo police officers?
I've been endorsed by the police officers, the firemen, different Randall County commissioners, Potter County commissioners. I've been endorsed by Ronnie Jackson, endorsed by Mayor Cole Stanley, ex-city councilman Josh Kraft. I'm trying to think of all of them right now. The Potter County GOP. I got a endorsement from Randall County GOP, Kelly Giles. And so I've had quite a few endorsements out there. I feel like we're doing real good. I've got a good team put together. They're out working today because it's early voting. They're out working.
So you're primarily opposed by the profiteers.
You got that right. Correct.
So you've basically been endorsed by all the people that want to represent the people, and the people that are the profiteers don't like you very much.
Correct. That is, I'd say you hit the nail right on the head. And I think you used a 10-pound sledge to hit that nail with.
Well, I think it explains things pretty well for the people. I think they get it.
Yep. I believe
now we just have to have the people show up and vote because they have the power.
That's right.
They have the right. It's all up to them.
Correct.
Right? Individually, as a voter, if you don't vote, you're voting for the profiteers. Basically,
the way I look at this, I started probably 25 to 30% down before the election even goes, because that's what they've got in their hip pocket, voters, you know.
Yeah.
And it may be a little bit more than that, but I've got to overcome that before I can get elected.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the people have to show up. So basically, it's the people versus the profiteers.
Yes, sir. Come out and vote, please.
Let's get somebody who wants to represent the people.
Yes, sir.
If you want that, you have a choice.
That's right.
All right, Tom. Good luck.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
You too.